If I'm not aware of that and I'm merely focused on the output, not setting the medicine ball down, going faster, putting up with the discomfort and suffering just to get the work done a little bit better, that's where I end up with walking pneumonia and asthma. If I back off of that just a little bit, I can still have small doses of that intensity and maintain my strength, carrying nearly twice my body weight at my hips for a half a football field, like I did in that yoke carry earlier. And so it's about building the steady and adaptable base below to support the intensity of the peak that we're capable of.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Unlock Potential. I'm Brian Delaney. Our focus this season is fitness. I'll be joined by Dr. Duvall, who's going to guide us through his protocol for getting into your best shape so we can live our best lives and serve others well.
So today's daily original work, I'm gonna have 15 minutes to work on an exercise called the yoke hip carry. So the yoke is a rack that I'm gonna carry at the height of my hip. I'm gonna be changing the weight to find a tough set of 50 meters within 30 seconds. I'm gonna record the heaviest weight that I complete for that. So I've got some time to play around with the weights, find a good tough set of 50 meters. I'm gonna get started. One thing we talk about is that in the daily original work, we want the effort to be tough. And we divide it as easy, medium, tough, maximal, and failure. And so daily original work, we're not feeling great. We're not feeling irritated. We don't have a ton of energy going into it, but we just have some peaceful energy going into it. We're looking for tough. If we've got some of that extra energy, that's when we want to push towards maximal in our strong work. So that effort felt tough, did not feel maximal. 290 pounds was the top. I'm gonna go in and see how I'm feeling now and choose my next piece. So doing the limber test there, I could feel aware of some tension and weaker feelings in some of the muscles of my low back and a little bit in the front of my abdomen. That's gonna guide me towards steady work. So I lifted some relatively heavier weight today in that yoke carry. My torso is saying, hey, we're a little tired, a little protective. Let's not push it too far. And so I'm gonna take on some steady work, which will be a little lower intensity, get some blood flow going. Now, I could override that and really push a little bit more, but that's gonna make this symptom worse and worse over time. If I listen to it and pull back just a little bit, that's gonna improve my recovery. Next time I do some tough effort like that, I'll recover quicker and not have to go through as much steady work. Different exercises will have different effects on the body composition. And I have relatively more musculature on my upper body than I do on my trunk and my legs. And that's a result of a lot of years focusing on bench pressing and bodybuilding work for my upper body, and CrossFit, which was heavy frequency of pull-ups and shoulder to overhead work like thrusters. And so when we look at carrying exercises, they tend to strain the torso and lower body more than the upper body. And so for my precise programming, I do more carrying than I do things like pull-ups. And so today's medicine ball overhead carry will challenge me to organize my spine and move my body in a steady way. That'll improve the blood flow of the musculature around my legs and my torso, and that improved blood flow will improve my recovery. When I recover better, I can add muscle much easier, and so I tend in those situations to add more musculature to my torso and lower body in the long run. Eventually that'll balance itself out, and I'll return the frequency of pull-ups. In being aware of my comfort zone in my exercise, I'm able to build the capacity of that musculature to repeatedly work in a comfortable way, which improves the blood flow, and that blood flow builds musculature. So as I said before I started this, that I'm low in musculature on my torso. And so by taking on that exercise, my body naturally showed me how to position itself so that I could add musculature in that area in the long run. If I'm not aware of that and I'm merely focused on the output, not setting the medicine ball down, going faster, putting up with the discomfort and suffering just to get the work done a little bit better, that's where I end up with walking pneumonia and asthma. If I back off of that just a little bit, I can still have small doses of that intensity and maintain my strength, carrying nearly twice my body weight at my hips for a half a football field, like I did in that yoke carry earlier. And so it's about building the steady and adaptable base below to support the intensity of the peak that we're capable of. The first couple of limber tests, I could feel tension in that musculature that I was mentioning previously. After a couple of tests, that tension went away, but then I started being aware of some nauseous feelings in my abdomen. And that nausea and discomfort in my abdomen, I want to help easily resolve that. And to easily resolve sensations of nausea, especially when there's no current cause of it, is through expansion of the breath. I've exercised very intensely in the past and gotten to the place where I was nauseous and on the edge of vomiting from the intensity of the exercise. That's not where I just was, but I challenged a lot of that tissue. And so our body can lock chemicals away in between our musculature, around our internal organs. And some of those molecules are the ones that make us feel nauseous. And so what I've just done is start to open that up and re-release some of those molecules, sensitizing the nerves that go through my memory center. And those are letting me know, hey, the last time your abdomen was as open and strong and your diaphragm was as capable as it was, you overdosed on intensity and got dehydrated afterwards. So it's reminding me not to do that. I'm going to take on adaptable work because the focus there is expansion of the breath. As I exhale more completely and move easily, I'm going to move those molecules out of my abdomen and back into the circulation. As I touch all of the edges of my comfort zone and then meet that with that breath expansion, my memory center is going to say, hey, that was the past when we met it with dehydration. That was the past when we overdosed on intensity. Now we're not going to do that. And it's okay to open up and move and allow yourself to be in that place. I draw a distinction between reaching and stretching. Stretching is taking an area that's tight within us, which is intending to protect tired and damaged areas. And we say, stop the protection, and we try to pull it so that it's not tight anymore. And we can have some success with that temporarily. But all that does is teaches us not to trust ourselves, and it exposes our body to more fatigue and more damage. Reaching, however, is staying comfortable within us and then achieving more outside of us. And so in our adaptable work, we talk about reaching to the sky and reaching across the ground so that we can have some kind of objective measurement of how far we're moving our body in those directions, while at the same time holding ourselves comfortable. As I was reaching up in all those various ways, I could feel tight areas as I was moving. And if I go into those tight areas, I just make things worse in the long run. But what I did instead was I found that tight area and I moved a little differently. And as I moved differently, I tried to reach higher. And as I reached higher, I started to open up new parts of my body. One of those got some mucus out of the bottom of my lungs. And I have a major history of pneumonia, secondary to overexercising with asthma. And I've had a lot of medication to try to help that over the years. As I've started trusting my body more and listening to what's comfortable and still achieving what's possible, I've started healing all of that. And just those little changes in how I move my body easily frees mucus from the lungs that's stuck from those years where I had pneumonia. Instead of that habit where I was coughing and coughing and coughing and nothing was coming up, now it just happens without me paying attention. It's subconscious. My body says, hey, we're tight here. I listen to that, and boom, it frees itself up. So I stay focused on what I should be focused on, and I let my subconscious body take care of the rest. I feel a little stiffness along that back side of my legs and inside of my legs. That's the main thing I feel, is that stiffness. So I'm going to take on some steady work. The next piece I have is some ground transition. I'm going to lay face up and I'm going to get up to kneeling. And the skill level is that I'm only going to use one arm and one leg to achieve this. What that means is, as I go from laying face up into a kneeling position, I can use one arm on an external object like the ground or a rope or ring or bar, and I'm only going to have one leg on the ground. So I'm trying to achieve a balanced position with a one leg kneeling. I remember when I was designing some of those ground transition exercises, I had people getting up to kneeling, and they were kneeling on both legs. And it dawned on me, oh, maybe we should have people level up that skill and work on getting up to kneeling just on one leg. And I tried it, and I had such poor balance that I was like, oh, that's not a thing people can do. And then I happened to be talking about that situation with a client, and the client tried it, and they were able to do it. And I was like, oh, that is a thing that's actually possible. And so then I started working on it myself, found that it was a skill that I was able to develop and improve over time. And I think that speaks volumes to being as capable as we can be so that we are maximally helpful to others. And sometimes that assistance is showing other people what's possible. When we are maximizing what we can do, other people are like, hey, they're a human, I'm a human. They've been through some tough times, I've been through some tough times. I think we're both capable of more, and we just start inspiring each other over time. That last 20-minute piece with the variety of activities, weightlifting, gymnastics, steady cycles of box jumps, box mounts is what we call them, and shuttle runs. Just really, that was a big attraction for me to CrossFit 17 years ago when I first started it. Just doing cycles like that, challenging your body in different ways, seeing what new things you become aware of as you go through it. So keeping that in essence of the Stay Active method has been a huge goal of mine. How do we dose people with that? How do we allow them the opportunity to do those things, but then not get buried in how to improve specific pieces through the constant variety there? And so developing this method has been, when is it appropriate to do cycles of intervals and mixture of exercises? And when is it appropriate to focus in on the things that your body needs the most to be as strong, steady, and adaptable as it can be? It's where the fittest cells, and we're maximally helpful to others.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unlock Potential. Follow us across all socials at Unlock Potential 360 and visit our website at unlockpotential360.com to shop our gear and see what's coming up next.
The information and views expressed by our host or guests on the Unlock Potential podcast are their own, and not a substitute for professional medical or fitness advice. Always consult with qualified healthcare or fitness professionals before starting any new exercise program or making changes to your current routine.